This is the process shot. I'm Michael. I'm baffled. And it's because of Cats, the 2019 film adaptation of the famous Broadway musical directed by Tom Hooper. It's effectively a narrative version of the musical review, introducing a character named Victoria to the cast as a sort of everyman or audience insert. She's shown around the streets of London and introduced to a number of other cats who sing, dance, and vie for a chance to impress the elder cat Old Deuteronomy for a chance to be sent to the Heavenside Lair and be reborn. However, in the shadows, a magical cat named Macavity plots to be the one to be sent to the Heavenside Lair, even if he has to vanish every other competitor in his way. This movie got a lot of flack upon release for its special effects work, specifically in how the human actors and actresses were given digital costumes in post-production to make them look like cats rather than wear something more real. Having seen the movie, I can say that it deserves that criticism. From the very moment it's introduced, this idea of digital makeup is distracting at best and unnerving at worst, present in every scene and applied to just about every character. It doesn't help at all that its implementation feels incomplete as well, as though the art designers had a vision but forgot just a few details to make it truly click. Specifically, the bodies of the costumes are fine, but the human faces are left alone, with an end result of characters whose faces look superimposed upon the rest of their bodies. And I think that's really what takes the viewer out of the experience. It just makes me wonder why they didn't try for something more realistic. Not necessarily graphically, but tangibly. Real costumes, I mean. Or at least something less freaky. Outside of that, the movie is actually visually impressive. The set pieces are, in fact, real set pieces, and they're designed well and to scale for the cat characters, that you do easily believe the cast to be smaller than they actually are. The film's colors and lights especially help to sell this, giving the entire setting a sense of darkness and abandonment that is entirely open for the cats to explore, and the individual settings where songs are performed feel natural to the environment. There is a bit of an issue which, again, comes about because of the digital costuming, in that because of how prevalent that element is, the rest of the film's visuals feel almost overpolished and unrealistic as a result, even if everything but those costumes are physical reality. The film's cinematography is a bit of a mixed bag, helping to make the musical sequences dynamic and flow well enough that you don't feel lost within the rather large and extravagant choreography. But at other times, like dialogue sequences, it suffers a bit from shaky cam tactics and not really doing anything creative other than close-ups. As for the narrative in Cats, the results are also a bit mixed. I'll give the filmmakers that it's not necessarily easy to create a story from what is essentially a showcase of songs and dances that was never really meant to have a traditional story in the first place. The movie does try to mitigate this, giving us a character to follow throughout a loose narrative with a defined conflict, but now the problem is that the narrative is a bit too loose. The conflict is present, but it's only developed in pieces at a time, and often it feels more like an aside rather than a significant story beat. It doesn't help that the story ends up feeling a bit ignored over time, with more focus on the film's musical numbers and overall spectacle than ensuring that the narrative comes through naturally. The end of the film is probably where things feel the most rushed, with an ending that literally comes out of thin air because the filmmakers couldn't make the thing more visually coherent in editing. In the end, I feel like the focus on spectacle is the real failure of Cats. Yes, the sets are grand, and the music is fun, and the dancing is impressive, but it's clear that it's done more in service to the special effects, which seems to be the reason for the film to exist, or at least its main attraction ahead of everything else. But when those effects are pretty much the main substance of the movie rather than a piece of it, and when the main substance is too faulty to hold up the rest of the film, the entire thing suffers as a result no matter how much work goes into the rest of it. Simply put, the movie hoped that people would come for the effects and stay for the musical, but in the end, there's really nothing worth seeing. Cats. Tom Hooper, 2019. 1 star. I don't recommend seeing it. It's not even weird enough to be a midnight movie kind of thing. It's somehow too normal for that. Anyways, that's it from me. You know the deal. Like the review, comment on it, and subscribe for more reviews in the future. You know, this movie has an ensemble cast with recognizable names, but I couldn't tell you at all who's who in the movie. I wonder if there's a version of this film without all the special effects. That might be fun.